Hi, I'm Sarah. Thanks for volunteering to lead your child's big backyard walk this spring at Estabrook School. I'm going to show you where the walk is going to take place and talk a bit more about what the content of the walk is. But before we do that, I wanted to do some logistical nuts and bolts. The first thing is, here we are at the entrance of Estabrook School. On the day of the walk, when you come in to lead the walk, you're going to come over here to this carousel and take out something that says grade, your child's grade and spring walk, and on it there will be the questions that you'll talk with the students on the way out of the school, on the way back in, and there will be a map showing where all of the different stations of the walk are located to help orient you once you get outside. So make sure to pick up one of these when you come in, and please do return it when you come back in from the walk so that the other students' classes, parents can also use it. Thanks. The other very important thing to do when you arrive to lead your child's walk is to come sign in here at the front desk of the school as a volunteer. And there's a sign-in computer and you get a label. After you do that, just head right on up to your child's classroom. You'll meet the students and the teachers there. The teacher will give you your group of children and you'll head out on the walk from there. So you're a volunteer for your child's spring big backyard walk. This is the kindergarten spring walk. As you can see, we're standing outside of the kindergarten classrooms. For the kindergarten walks, the classes just come straight out the back door of the classroom and head out to the walks. The kindergarten walks are not as far from the school as some of the older students' walks. On the packet that you picked up at the front door when you signed in, there was introduction questions that were suggestions for what to talk about with your group as you exit the school. If you were a volunteer on the winter walk, you may remember the exercise that we did of closing your eyes and taking 20-30 seconds to listen, feel, smell, use senses other than sight to perceive what's going on around us and to ask questions about how is this different than it was in the winter the last time we went for a walk. The air feels warmer. The sounds of the birds and insects are really different, the wind rustling in the leaves. So it's a great way to get the energy of your group maybe toned down a little bit by closing the eyes and trying to take in the senses and open the eyes and talk about what you see that looks really different. We see a lot of leaves, there are flowers. It's a little cool and not sunny today, but it may be bright and sunny with lots of insects flying by the time your group comes out. So take some time to gather your group and focus on the content of this walk, which is plants, wildflowers and trees, and also insects in springtime. There are 6 stations on this walk. They're all near to the school or just into the trail that we started on in the fall and the winter. And I'm going to show you all 6 of them right now. So you can see we're just next to the school here. This is one of the stations. These stations do not have to be done in any particular order. Ideally, you'll just take your group to a station that no other groups are at and then just keep trading throughout the walk time. This station is about wildflowers, and we have set it up in a little ditch area just next to the school where you can look around and see a bunch of different wildflowers. There's some clover right next to the station now and dandelions, but as the students sit and look for different colors and shapes, and there's some other flowers right here, so you can get the students to look around and see how many different kinds of flowers they can find. Ask them questions from the sheet like, why are flowers growing now and they weren't in the winter? Another fun thing to do in this bag, we have a couple trowels, can help the students, or you can dig a flower up out of the ground, including its roots, and pick one that there's lots of instead of a rare one. And have the students name all the plant parts from the flower, stem, leaves, roots. Really examine the whole plant above and below ground and then carefully replant it. It's a really fun exploration for the kids. So this is the station we're calling Amazing Insects. Insects are very different than humans and other mammals, and they're a little mysterious and a little surprising at times. But one common ant that we see a lot of are ants. One common insect are ants. And this station is set up right by what turns out to be a very large ant hill. And there's a lot of holes in the ground. You can see a lot of ant activity here. And we have a bag full of hand lenses. The students can really closely watch the ants, watch them coming in and out of those holes even. I see one coming out right now. It's a time to just observe them and what they're up to. There's some interesting facts on this sheet as well about ants, how much they can carry per their body weight. They're amazingly strong. And when the weather gets really nice and warm, you may see a lot of grasshoppers in an area like this too. There's an interesting fact about how far grasshoppers can hop, which is very far for their body size. So we have some information on the sheet for this station about if a child in this class was a grasshopper, how far they could hop would actually be about the length of a football field. And so we have measured that out. So from this station down to the fire hydrant and a flag way down by the parking lot is where the other flag is. It may be a little hard to see on this video, but the kids can try seeing how far they can jump in that direction and see that they would get nowhere near the parking lot. And that can be a lot of fun to imagine what life would be like if they were grasshoppers. This station is about signs of invertebrates. Insects are one kind of invertebrate, but there are others that we may find out here. Worms, for example. Spiders are not insects. They have 8 legs, but they are invertebrates. And so at this station, we are looking for signs that there may be invertebrates around. Now you can see more ant holes in the ground. You may also see little piles of dirt that are worm castings, also known as worm poop, signs that they have been digging in the ground. You may also look for spider webs either in the branches or here's one right here. So there's probably spiders in here. Maybe kids don't want to go shoving their hands in, but taking some time to look in there. Other signs of invertebrates, I flagged this tree. There's a lot of signs that insects have been eating this tree in different ways. There's some holes that munching caterpillars probably made. There's also leaf miner damage in the inside of the leaves. It looks really different, so you can look for different types of leaf damage. And there's some larger sections missing off of other leaves. And there are in the bag at the station, again, some hand lenses. If you find any insects you want to look up closer at, or if you want to inspect the leaf miner damage on the leaves up close, this will be a really helpful way to see it. Another item in the bag is a pencil. In case you find something that looks like a pile of foam or spit on in the crack of leaves growing on a plant that may be spittlebug spittle, and if you gently brush aside from the spittle, you may find the insect larva inside feeding on the plant tissue, and this can allow you to sort of pick it up and examine it and then carefully put it back. I don't see any here right now, but you may find those in coming weeks. Hi, so we have just spent some time in the grassy areas looking at a couple of our stations. 2 of our stations are behind this shed. We are behind Estabrook School. There's the driveway, there's a shed. You'll see all this on your map too, but I just want to show you that around the back of the shed, you can see the pink flagging is where one station is, and then there's a little ways into the woods down the trail, a very short distance, is another station. We are now at our 4th station out of the 6 on this walk, and this one is about trees in the springtime. You've looked at trees in the fall and in the winter when there were no leaves, so children can look around and talk about what looks so different now in the springtime. We're filming this in late springtime, so the leaves are fully out. If your walk is in earlier springtime, you may get to see the maple flowers and those helicopter maple seeds falling, which I think are just about done this year. But the oak flowers as well were recently falling off the trees, and if that's the case during your walk, you can still find them on the ground. the flowers that fell off of the oak trees. So even though the trees' flowers don't necessarily look the way we think of garden flowers, deciduous trees do have flowers, and pine trees have cones, as you probably are aware. At this station, we have a sheet with information about several different types of trees. It's on the front and the back side. I've also labeled example trees here, so you can look out for some flagging. And I've written on there what kinds of tree it is: a maple, beech tree, and then over here, white pine. And here's a small oak. So you have these here as examples for looking at different shapes of leaves can be used to tell trees apart, in addition to the flowers that they had earlier in the spring. And you can talk about how trees have all the same plant parts that the wildflowers you dig up at the wildflower station have. Here we are a little ways down the trail at our 5th station, and this one is about exploring the variety of different insects. So you hopefully notice some insects like the ants and butterflies and other insects that were out in the flowery area, and you can certainly continue exploring them after you've been at this station. In the forest and like underneath the leaf litter, underneath rocks, or just using tree leaves for food are going to be different kinds of insects. Now, we don't want the students to be walking much off the trail into the forest because of concern over both poison ivy and ticks, but all along the path here there's some small wildflowers. There's a lot of different kinds of leaves. There's plenty of leaf litter and rocks to go under. Students can take a stick and lift up the leaf litter and look underneath for legged insects instead of flying ones. So the best way to observe insects is really, other than looking and rooting under, turning over leaves to look at what's underneath, or whether there are bulges on leaves, insect galls where insects are inside, and then just sitting still to observe. Sitting still and quietly, even just for a minute or two, you'll start to notice insects flying around or that may come and settle down near you to look at. So we also, to facilitate looking at things closely, in a supply bag have both bug boxes and hand lenses. Both are used for looking at insects up close. So the bug boxes open up if you want to scoop up an insect someone has found. There's a magnifying lens on the top, and a hand lens is great for if there's something you want to look at that you cannot scoop up or don't want to disturb. Some questions that you can talk about with the students are suggested on the station sheet. Why do we see insects visiting flowers? What's the biggest insect you've found? What's the smallest one? All kinds of other questions for discussion. Hi, so here we are at our final station on this walk. Again, they don't need to be done in any particular order. This just happens to be the last one I'm going to right now. It's back here by the outside of the school building. We've just come most of the way back to the classroom doors. And this is our dandelion station. Now, all of you are familiar with these yellow dandelion flowers, and they turn into the fun to blow the seed heads that blow around in the wind or on your breath. But we haven't really, probably on our own, explored them in great depth. But this station is all about the dandelion life cycle and exploring it in more depth. So one thing that is fun to do on this sheet is it takes you through several different activities. So first, you're looking to find a dandelion with the yellow flower head, like we still have a few of here. If there aren't many dandelions left by the time your class comes out, please don't rip off a whole dandelion head, or not more than one. If you can help your group not do that, so that other classes can have them as well. So then you'll look up close at the dandelion yellow flowers with hand lenses that we have in the bag. If you look up very close and you pull off one of the petals, you'll see it's actually a complete flower and not individual petals. So each dandelion flower head actually has quite a lot of flowers in it. And so that's one of the topics of conversation on the sheet. And then there will also be here and there closed up flowers. There's a diagram on the back of the sheet to help you see with illustrations, but here's a closed up flower where the seeds are forming. And then the last stage is the seed head ready to disperse. So in this station, we're going to be doing activities examining each of them. They are described here. Questions to ask the students are described here. And again, on the reverse side is an illustration of the entire dandelion life cycle from the buds, which I don't think we have buds anymore growing right now, but the yellow flower heads, the fertilized flower heads, the seed fruiting head, and then you'll probably see some around where some of the seeds have dispersed and some are still on. There's a diagram showing the different parts of the seed if the students are really interested, but it is kindergarten, so they may have just a lot of fun blowing the seeds around too. And that's okay. The whole point is to be having fun, exploring, asking questions, asking them to think hard to what could the answers be? How many different answers can you think of about why would the seeds be blowing around on the wind? And hopefully you're having fun too. Thank you again so much for volunteering to lead your child's Big Backyard Walk.